back, everyone. My name's Sophie, and I'm a computer science and management student at the University of British Columbia. If you guys actually want to know a little bit more about my background, then leave a comment down below, and I might actually make a video about that at some point. But today's content is going to be a lot more riveting than just myself, because today I'm actually going to be sharing with you 3 books that literally changed my life. So I recently started reading a lot more books as I was going through the whole quarantine slump that I'm sure quite a few of you have also been going through, and these books are all books that I read recently, and as I said, they have had a huge impact on me, on my life, and just changed my perspectives on a lot of things. I'm going to be going over these books in a very specific structure. So firstly, I'm going to talk about each book, a little general information. I'm going to be going about the author, what it's about. Second, I'm going to be going about the value that it provides to someone that is into computer science and business. And third and lastly, if you don't fall into that second category, I'm going to be sharing with you how that book can provide value to you as someone that's not into those topics and just a member of society in general. So let's get started. So I'm actually going to be going over these books in the order that I read them within probably the last month or so. And the first one is this book called Hooked. It's written by Nir Eyal. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Nir Eyal taught a consumer psychology course and is also a speaker at a lot of industry conferences and Fortune 500 companies. This book covers how you can build habit-forming products and how you can get your consumers engaged with what you're building and the products that you're trying to put out there. In this book, Nir actually outlines a 4-step process to achieving a hooking product, and that 4-step process includes triggers, action, variable rewards, and investment. Now let's get into how I think Hooked is valuable to people into computer science or into tech and business in general. While in this book, Nir uses a lot of tech companies as examples, such as Pinterest, Twitter, and Codecademy, he does constantly emphasize that the ideas that he shares in this book are also relevant to other companies that produce other sorts and other types of products or even services. This can be valuable to you because in the end, any company that is trying to publish some sort of product or service is trying to increase customer engagement. And by making sure that your product kind of follows this 4-step process, you can really ensure that it is habit forming and that a lot of consumers will actually end up engaging with your product. This customer engagement will actually increase by itself without having to boost a lot of marketing money into your product. So one thing that I found really useful about this book is actually that Nir includes these kind of, what are they actually called? Let me check quickly. Do this now sections at the end of each chapter, and that's basically almost kind of like a checklist of things that you can go through that are relevant to that chapter when you're actually in the process of creating a business. You can open that page and you can see, oh, I'm in this stage, I should kind of be keeping an eye on these things. And obviously that do this now section also again emphasizes the main points of that chapter. Now, how is this book valuable to you? I feel that, I don't know if this is positive or negative, but after reading this book, I've actually become a lot more self-conscious almost and self-aware when I use products, and I feel that in a way that's a good thing, because nowadays so much of our lives is dictated by the content that we consume and the products that we interact with, that I feel like it's very important to just take a step back and kind of really think about why it is that we use certain products or consume certain content. And by reading this book and really getting an idea of the kind of techniques that these businesses are using in order to get me and anyone else hooked to their products, has really allowed me to reflect on that a little bit more. Next up, we have Contagious by Berger. Again, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but Berger actually ran a lot of academic studies on why it is that certain products catch on more and generate more kind of word of mouth than other products, and he's also a professor at the Wharton School of Business. In this book, Jonah goes over how to build word of mouth for any kind of product really, and he outlines kind of 6 concepts in this book, and those 6 concepts are social currency, triggers, emotion, public, practical value, and stories. And so it's kind of this framework that you can, again, similar to Hooked in a way, that you can follow to just increase your customer engagement if you're kind of building a product or thinking of releasing an idea out there into the world. How is this valuable to someone that's interested in computer science or business? Well, it is kind of obvious, but essentially it's if you're entrepreneurial, what you really want to do is if you release a product, you want to make sure that you increase customer engagement and customer retention. And by allowing your product to generate word of mouth or buzz, as it's also called, you're kind of making sure that more and more people are engaging with your product and turning into consumers of your product without having to constantly put more marketing budget into promoting your product. So it's kind of this organic way that your product can get more users, which is very, very useful, especially in early days of startups where finances are very rough and short. For example, a lot of people believe that in order to start a business, you have to have this new, amazing, out of this world idea that will really make people interested in what it is that you're producing. But in this book, Jonah actually talks about how that's not necessarily true. He actually covers how a blender can generate a ton of word of mouth, or even just a cheesesteak. And in the end, those products are still just blenders and cheesesteaks. But they have created so much buzz and so much word of mouth that they were practically marketing themselves. And there's just a lot of valuable lessons in this book when it comes to social marketing and also, again, a little bit of consumer psychology. The next time that you have any kind of idea about a business that you want to start or a startup or something and you feel like, oh, this is kind of boring, again, Jonah talked about how a blender and cheesesteak kind of changed the world. So, just go ahead and try and give this book a shot. How is this book kind of value to anyone else? Well, if you're not someone that's kind of looking to promote a product or a service because you're not kind of creating a business or something, I'm sure that at one point in our lives, every single one of us has had to kind of promote their opinion, their point of view, their ideas, either in the form of a presentation or during some kind of debate. And I feel that a lot of these concepts that Jonah talks about in this book also can be applied to just spreading your own ideas and wanting people to kind of catch on with your opinions or the things that you believe in. And especially the concepts of emotion and stories and social value that can really also be applied to just sharing ideas in general. Last but definitely not least, we have The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. And Eric Ries actually founded or created the Lean Startup methodology of creating and running businesses, and he has founded multiple companies himself and also has talks at a ton of large companies out there. This book is kind of like the holy grail for anyone that's thinking of starting a business nowadays, and that's because it really just describes the Lean Startup methodology, which is really kind of the modern way of doing business in this fast-paced world. And you kind of have to know that way of doing business if you want to start a business nowadays. And this book has actually been sold over 1 million times and translated into over 30 different languages. So that's how popular this book is. But what is this book actually about? Well, in this book, Eric Ries, he kind of applies the popular Toyota manufacturing or lean manufacturing methodology and applies it into the more software and service-oriented markets of today, and kind of came up with the system called the Lean Startup, which is, the modern way of doing business, and it focuses on small batch sizes, really interacting with your customers and getting feedback and just iterating on a process as fast as possible. How is this relevant to someone into computer science or business? Well, this book is actually kind of the backbone of a lot of the material that I have learned from the management courses I've been taking as part of my degree. And that just shows how popular these kind of concepts are nowadays, that they're even being taught in such an academic setting. In the book, Eric splits up the kind of creation and running of a business into 3 sort of steps called vision, steering, and acceleration. And in each of these steps, or like kind of stages almost of a business, he goes over the kind of main points that have to be kept in mind if you really want your startup to succeed, and also the things that you have to avoid if you want your startup to succeed. And he really draws from examples from businesses that he has worked with in the real world, and that just makes the whole information that he talks about quite a bit more tangible. How is this book relevant to anyone else? Well, it's a little bit harder with this book actually, because it is quite niche, because it really describes that kind of core business methodology. But he actually emphasizes multiple times in this book that we're still nowadays kind of moving away from this waterfall way of doing business that kind of was more focused on the production line, and moving towards this more lean way of doing business, which focuses again on small batch sizes, quick iteration, engaging the customer. And by kind of going through this conversion, we're also eliminating a lot of the conflicts that exist between different departments in companies. So if you're working for some kind of business or a larger corporation, and you often feel that there is some tension between you and your colleagues, you can even think about incorporating certain aspects of the lean startup model into your kind of workflow to either increase your personal work efficiency and just satisfaction, or really just boosting the efficiency of the entire business, and maybe even getting a little bit of recognition from your manager. Who knows? But yeah, I feel like it's still worth a read, even to just increase your own productive workflow. So that's the 3 books that have literally changed my life that I've read in the past probably month. And if you want to look into any of these, all the Amazon links are in the description down below. If you've read any of these, leave a comment and let me know kind of what your takeaways were. Let's start a discussion. And also let me know down below which one of these seems kind of the most interesting to you, and which one you think you might look into next. If you had a blast watching this video, or you found this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, don't forget to leave a like, and also go subscribe and share this video with friends that are maybe kind of reluctant to start reading, just to kind of, give them a good old nudge. But yeah, take care, and I'll see you soon.